Dr. Amanda Pierce wiped the red dust from her gloves as she knelt beside the strange crystal formation. The Lunar Research Station had sent her to Mars 3 months ago to study the ancient ruins, but nothing had prepared her for what she found. Buried beneath the red sand, the crystal was unlike anything in the databases. It pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to respond to her touch. Amanda carefully extracted it from the rocky ground and carried it back to her temporary lab inside the research dome. Computer, begin scan of artifact designation MP47, she said, placing the crystal on the analysis table. The scanners hummed to life, but the results made no sense. The crystal contained data storage capacity beyond human technology, yet the material composition suggested it was millions of years old. Amanda connected her portable reader to the crystal. The screen flickered, then suddenly filled with symbols. That looked almost familiar. She had studied ancient languages for years, but these symbols seemed to shift and change as she watched them. Then, without warning, the symbols rearranged themselves into perfect English. Her heart raced as she read the first line. Historical record of the Human Colonial Empire, Sector 7, Galactic Standard Year, 4847-293. That was impossible. Humans had only been in space for a few hundred years. Amanda checked the translation software, thinking there must be an error, but the crystal continued displaying information that made her hands shake. According to the records, humans had once ruled over 300 star systems. They had built massive cities on distant worlds and commanded fleets of ships that could cross the galaxy in days. The records showed detailed maps of human colonies, trade routes, and military installations scattered across the Milky Way. Amanda grabbed her communication device. Luna Base, this is Dr. Pierce. I need to speak with Commander Harrison immediately. Priority Alpha. The static cleared and Jake Harrison's voice came through. Amanda, what's wrong? You sound upset. Jake, I found something. Something that changes everything we know about human history. Amanda's voice trembled as she spoke. I need you to come to Mars right away. And bring Admiral Turner with you. 3 days later, Jake Harrison and Admiral Greg Turner stood in Amanda's lab, staring at the holographic display the crystal had projected. The image showed a vast space station orbiting a blue sun, with hundreds of human ships docked at its ports. This has to be fake, Greg said, shaking his head. Humans evolved on Earth. We have fossil records going back millions of years. Amanda pulled up another file from the crystal. Look at this. These are genetic records of the human populations that were relocated to Earth. According to this data, our ancestors were moved there from another galaxy entirely. The hologram changed to show a star map with thousands of marked locations. Each point of light represented a world where humans had lived. Earth was just one small dot among hundreds of others. The records say that humans originally came from a galaxy they called the home spiral, Amanda continued. They had been exploring space for over 50,000 years before something happened, something that forced them to hide small groups of humans on primitive worlds like Earth. Jake leaned closer to the display. What kind of something? Amanda opened another file. The hologram showed 6 different alien species standing together. They looked like reptiles, insects, and other creatures that seemed designed for war. This group called themselves the Dominion Hegemony. According to these records, they united specifically to destroy human civilization. The file detailed how the Dominion had spent centuries studying human technology and military tactics. They learned that humans were incredibly adaptable and refused to give up even when facing impossible odds. The aliens realized that as long as humans existed, they would eventually rebuild their empire and reclaim their place as the galaxy's most powerful species. So they decided to make sure humans could never remember who they really were, Amanda said. They used advanced mind-wiping technology to erase the memories of captured human populations. Then they scattered these groups on primitive worlds throughout the galaxy and destroyed all records of human civilization. Greg stared at the display showing Earth as it looked millions of years ago. But why leave us alive at all? Why not just kill everyone? Amanda switched to another file. Because they needed us. Look at this data on Dominion technology development over the past few million years. Every major advancement they made was based on stolen human research. They kept small human populations alive as a genetic reservoir, using our DNA to improve their own species. The evidence was overwhelming. File after file showed how the Dominion had built their entire civilization on the foundation of stolen, human knowledge. They had used human creativity and problem-solving abilities to solve their own technological challenges, all while keeping humans trapped on backward worlds. Jake studied the star map again. If this is all true, then there might be other human populations out there who don't know their real history. That's exactly what I think, Amanda said. And there's something else. The crystal wasn't just storing historical records. It was also running some kind of monitoring program. It's been watching human development on Earth, waiting for us to reach a certain technological level. As if responding to her words, the crystal began projecting a new message. The symbols formed slowly, as if the system was struggling to activate, after eons of dormancy. Warning: human technological development has reached threshold parameters. Dominion monitoring stations have detected quantum archaeological activities. Estimate 72 hours until Dominion response fleet arrival. Activating emergency protocols. The lab fell silent except for the humming of equipment. Amanda looked at Jake and Greg, seeing her own fear reflected in their faces. "They're coming," she whispered. "The Dominion knows we found this. They're coming to finish what they started." Jake activated his communication device. "All Earth Defense Fleet units, this is Admiral Harrison. Return to base immediately. We have a code red situation developing." Amanda was already working to copy all the data from the crystal. "There's more information here about other storage sites. If we can find them before the Dominion arrives, we might have a chance." Greg walked to the dome's window and looked up, at the stars. 300 star systems, he said quietly. "We once ruled 300 star systems, and they made us forget it all." Amanda finished copying the data and carefully packed the crystal. "They made us forget, but they didn't destroy us. Humans are still here, and now we know the truth." Jake checked his weapon and prepared to leave. "Then let's make sure the truth survives long enough to matter." The three humans left the research dome and headed for their ship, carrying with them the knowledge that would change everything. Above them, the stars looked different now. They were no longer distant lights in an empty sky, but reminders of a vast empire that humans had built once before. And if the records were true, they could build it again. The news spread across Earth's colonies like wildfire, despite the government's attempts to keep it secret. Captain Lisa Bennett stood on the bridge of her exploration ship, the New Horizon, reading the classified reports that Admiral Turner had sent her. Humanity's true history was nothing like what they had been taught. They were not a young species taking their first steps into space. They were the descendants of a galactic empire that had ruled the stars for thousands of years before being betrayed and scattered. "Captain, we're receiving a priority message from the mining station on Europa," her communications officer reported. Lisa activated the main screen. Carl Rodriguez appeared, his face covered in dirt and his work clothes torn. Behind him, Lisa could see the entrance to what looked like a massive underground facility. "Captain Bennett, you need to see this," Carl said, breathing hard. "We were drilling for ice when we broke through into something big, real big, and it's not natural." Lisa ordered her ship to change course for Europa immediately. The journey took 18 hours, during which she studied every file Amanda Pierce had recovered from the Martian crystal. The data painted a picture of humanity that was both inspiring and terrifying. According to the records, humans had not conquered the galaxy through force alone. They had been protectors, defending younger alien species from threats that came from the dark spaces between stars. The human empire had been built on cooperation and mutual defense, not domination. But the Dominion hegemony had seen humanity's growing influence as a threat to their own power. The 6 alien species that formed the Dominion had been struggling civilizations before they gained access to human technology. They used that stolen knowledge to build their own empire, while ensuring that humans could never challenge them again. When the New Horizon reached Europa, Lisa suited up and followed Carl into the underground facility. What she found took her breath away. The chamber was enormous, stretching beyond the range of their lights. Row after row of cylindrical pods filled the space, each one glowing with the same soft blue light as Amanda's crystal. The pods were connected to a central power system that hummed with energy despite being buried under ice for millions of years. "How many are there?" Lisa asked. Carl checked his scanner. "At least 10,000 in this section alone. And Captain, the scanners show more. Chambers extending deeper underground. Could be 100,000 pods total." Lisa approached the nearest pod and wiped frost from its transparent surface. Inside was a human figure, perfectly preserved. The person wore a uniform she didn't recognize, but the fabric looked advanced even by current standards. Various devices were attached to their belt, and their hands showed the calluses of someone accustomed to hard work. "They're all human," Carl said, moving between the pods. "Men and women of all ages. Some look like soldiers, others like scientists or engineers, but they're all in perfect condition like they just went to sleep yesterday." Lisa found a control panel near the central power system. The symbols were the same ones Amanda had discovered on Mars. As she studied them, they shifted and reformed into English, just as they had for Amanda. "Stasis Facility 7 Alpha," she read aloud. "Emergency Preservation Protocol initiated Galactic Standard Year 4,847,294. Total preserved personnel, 127,846. Automatic revival conditions. Detection of indigenous human technological development. Reaching interstellar capability." "Indigenous human development," Carl repeated. "They're talking about us. These people have been waiting for us to develop space travel." Lisa activated her communication device. "Admiral Turner, this is Captain Bennett. I need you to hear this immediately." When Turner's image appeared on her portable screen, Lisa explained what they had found. The Admiral listened without interruption, but his face grew more serious with each detail. "Captain, I want you to begin revival procedures immediately," Turner said. "We need to know what these people remember about our real history." Lisa looked at the control panel. "Sir, I don't know if it's safe. These systems have been running for millions of years. Captain, we have 18 hours before the first Dominion scout ships reach our outer system. If these people have knowledge that can help us, we need it now." Lisa studied the control system and found what appeared to be an individual pod activation sequence. She selected the pod containing what looked like a military officer and began the revival process. The pod's blue glow intensified, and Lisa could see the figure inside beginning to move. Systems throughout the facility activated, and the air filled with the sound of ancient machinery coming to life. The pod opened with a soft hiss of escaping gas. The man inside sat up slowly, blinking in the light. He looked around the chamber, then focused on Lisa and Carl. "Status report," he said in clear English, though his accent was unlike any Lisa had heard. "Sir, you've been in stasis for approximately 4 million years," Lisa said. "I'm Captain Lisa Bennett of the Earth Defense Fleet." The man climbed out of the pod and stood steady on his feet. "Marcus Stone, General of the Colonial Defense Forces, Earth Defense Fleet, so the colony population survived the purge. General, we've recently discovered evidence that human civilization was much more advanced than we knew. We need information about the Dominion hegemony." Marcus looked around the chamber, taking in the thousands of pods. "The Dominion. Yes, we knew they were planning something. That's why we activated the preservation protocols." He walked to another control panel and began working with the alien symbols as if they were familiar. "How much do you remember?" Lisa asked. "Everything. The memory suppression technology doesn't work on people in stasis." Marcus brought up a holographic display showing the galaxy as it had existed millions of years ago. Hundreds of systems were marked with human symbols. "This was our territory," he said. "We weren't conquerors. We were guardians. There are things in the dark between stars that would destroy every living world if left unchecked. Humanity took on the responsibility of holding them back." Carl pointed to the display. "What kind of things?" Marcus switched the image to show dark regions of space where no stars shone. Entities that exist in the void between galaxies. They consume entire civilizations, leaving nothing but empty space behind. The Dominion species were struggling to survive against these threats when humans first made contact with them. Lisa studied the star map. So we helped them? We saved them, gave them technology, protected their worlds, helped them build defenses, and in return, they studied us, learned our weaknesses, discovered that humans have something the other species lack. What's that? Marcus smiled grimly. We don't know how to give up. When faced with impossible odds, other species surrender or flee. Humans adapt and fight harder. The Dominion realized that as long as humans existed, we would eventually overcome any obstacle they put in our way. The facility's systems chimed, and new displays activated showing the current position of Earth's solar system. They're coming, Marcus said, reading the data. Dominion ships just like we expected they would when Earth's technology reached this level. Lisa felt her heart racing. How do we fight them? Our ships are nothing compared to what you had. Sam began activating more pods throughout the chamber. Captain, you're wrong about one thing. You do have what we had. Every human carries the genetic memory of our ancestors. The skills, the tactics, the refusal to surrender. It's all still there, waiting to be awakened. As the first group of ancient humans began to wake, Marcus continued explaining. The Dominion made one critical mistake. They assumed that destroying our technology would make us helpless, but human strength was never in our machines. It was in our ability to adapt, to learn, to never give up hope. Lisa watched as dozens of humans from the distant past emerged from their pods, each one ready to fight for their species' survival. General, what do we do now? Marcus smiled and began activating weapons systems that had been dormant for millions of years. Now, Captain, we remind the galaxy why the Dominion was so afraid of us in the first place. The Dominion fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. Admiral Jake Harrison watched from the bridge of his flagship as sensors counted the enemy ships. 300 vessels of various sizes, all bearing the distinctive markings of the 6 Dominion species. Sir, we're receiving a transmission, his communications officer reported. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, showing a reptilian creature with golden scales and cold yellow eyes. This was High Commander Zethkri of the Saurian Empire, one of the founding members of the Dominion hegemony. Humans of the Sol system. Zethkri spoke in perfect English, his voice carrying the arrogance of someone accustomed to being obeyed. I am High Commander Zethkri. You have discovered information that was meant to remain hidden. This knowledge poses a threat to galactic stability. Jake stood straight, his hands clasped behind his back. High Commander, I am Admiral Jake Harrison, of the Earth Defense Fleet. The only threat to stability is the lie your people have been living for millions of years. Zethkri's eyes narrowed. You speak of things you do not understand, human. Your species was relocated to this system for your own protection. The galaxy is a dangerous place full of threats that primitive civilizations cannot comprehend. Primitive? Jake's voice hardened. We've seen the records, Zethkri. We know what humanity accomplished before your people betrayed us. We know about the real threats you were hiding from while humans protected the galaxy. The alien commander's composure cracked slightly. Those records are propaganda created by your ancestors to justify their aggression. Humanity was a warlike species that sought to dominate all others. Dr. Amanda Pierce stepped forward from her position at the science station. She had been studying more crystal records for the past week, learning truths that made her sick with anger. That's a lie, she said. We've found over 30 storage sites across the solar system. The real records show that humanity spent thousands of years helping younger species develop. The only aggression came from civilizations like yours that wanted to steal human technology. Behind the Dominion fleet, space began to shimmer. Jake smiled as he recognized the signs of ships dropping out of hyperspace. General Marcus Stone had kept his promise. Dozens of ancient human vessels appeared, their hulls scarred by millions of years, but their weapon systems fully operational. The ships were massive, each one larger than anything in the current Earth defense fleet. They moved with a grace that spoke of superior technology and experienced crews. Zethkri's image flickered as his sensors detected the new arrivals. Impossible. Those ships were destroyed eons ago. Nothing human is ever truly destroyed, Jake replied. We adapt, we survive, and we remember. General Marcus Stone's voice came through on a separate channel. Admiral Harrison, this is General Stone aboard the battleship Eternal Vigilance. My people are ready to fight alongside yours. Jake opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Admiral Harrison. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the truth. The Dominion wants us to believe we're weak and primitive. Let's show them what humans can do when we remember who we really are. The battle began when a Dominion cruiser fired on one of the ancient human ships. The energy beam struck the vessel's shields and dissipated harmlessly. In response, the human ship fired a single shot that cut the cruiser in half. All human vessels, engage at will, Jake ordered. The space around Earth erupted into chaos. Dominion ships swarmed toward the human fleet, but they found themselves outmatched by opponents who had been fighting these same enemies for millions of years. Captain Lisa Bennett, commanding a squadron of modern Earth ships alongside ancient, human vessels, watched in amazement as the old ships moved. They seemed to anticipate every Dominion tactic, responding to attacks before they were even launched. How are they doing that? Her tactical officer asked. Experience, Lisa replied. They've been fighting the Dominion species for thousands of years. They know every trick, every weakness. On the surface of Europa, more stasis chambers continued, opening. Engineers and technicians from humanity's golden age worked alongside modern humans to activate weapon systems that had been hidden throughout the solar system. Carl Rodriguez found himself working beside a woman named Helen Burke, who had been humanity's chief military engineer 4 million years ago. Together, they brought online a massive defense platform hidden inside one of Jupiter's moons. The Dominion always relied on overwhelming numbers, Helen explained as they worked. But human ships were designed to fight outnumbered. Watch this. The hidden platform fired, and a beam of energy struck the center of the Dominion formation. Instead of exploding, the beam created a field that disrupted the aliens' communication systems. Suddenly, 300 enemy ships became 300 individual vessels with no way to coordinate their attacks. Aboard his flagship, Jake watched the tide of battle turn in humanity's favor. But he knew this was only the beginning. Intelligence. Reports from the awakened ancient humans indicated that this was just a small scout force compared to what the Dominion could bring to bear. Admiral, Amanda called from her station, I'm detecting something strange. The Dominion ships are using technology that matches human designs almost exactly. Jake looked at the sensor data. You mean they copied our technology? More than copied. Look at these power signatures. They're using human-designed engines, human-developed shields, even human weapon systems. The only differences are cosmetic. General Marcus Stone's image appeared on the main screen. His ship was engaging 3 Dominion vessels simultaneously while barely taking damage. Admiral Harrison, Dr. Pierce is correct. The Dominion has no original technology. Everything they use was stolen from human research over the centuries. That's their greatest weakness. How so? They understand how to use human technology, but they don't understand how to improve it. Every system on their ships has built-in limitations that humans designed as safety measures. We can exploit those limitations. Jake smiled as he understood. You built backdoors into your own technology. We built safeguards. Humans have always been paranoid about our technology being used against us. Every major system we ever developed has hidden shutdown codes and override protocols. Amanda worked frantically at her station, cross-referencing the crystal data with current sensor readings from the Dominion ships. I'm finding the access codes now. General Stone, if we broadcast these frequencies, what will happen? Every Dominion ship in the system will experience cascading system failures. Their shields will drop, their weapons will overload, and their life support will begin shutting down. Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These people had grown up believing humanity was young and inexperienced. Now they were learning that their species had once ruled the stars and built safeguards that still worked millions of years later. Do it, Jake ordered. Amanda transmitted the shutdown codes across all frequencies. Throughout the Dominion fleet, ships began losing power. Emergency lights flickered on as main systems failed. Weapons stopped firing, shields collapsed, and engines shut down. High Commander Zethkri's image reappeared on the screen, but his composure was completely gone. Behind him, Jake could see alien crew members running frantically as their ship lost power. "This is impossible," Zethkri snarled. "Our technology is superior to yours." "No," Jake replied calmly. "Your technology is ours. We just let you borrow it for a few million years." The Dominion commander's expression changed from anger to something that might have been fear. "You cannot comprehend the forces you are challenging. The Dominion hegemony spans thousands of worlds. This fleet is nothing compared to our true strength." General Stone's voice cut through the transmission. "Then perhaps you should have remembered why the Dominion was created in the first place, Zethkri. You formed your alliance because you were terrified of humanity. Today you get to remember why. Has the last Dominion ships either surrendered or fled the system?" Jake looked out at the stars and felt something he had never experienced before. For the first time in his life, he truly understood what it meant to be human. They were not a young species stumbling through space. They were the inheritors of a legacy that spanned millions of years and thousands of worlds. And now that they remembered who they were, nothing would ever be the same. 6 months after the battle for Earth, Captain Lisa Bennett stood on the bridge of her ship as it dropped out of hyperspace near a system the ancient records called Kepler's Garden. According to the data Amanda Pierce had recovered, this world held over 50 million human descendants who had been living as primitive farmers for millions of years. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple settlements across the planet's surface," her science officer reported. "Technology level appears to be roughly equivalent to Earth's medieval period." Lisa studied the sensor readings. The people below had no idea of their true heritage. They lived in small villages, grew crops by hand, and probably thought the stars were just lights in the sky. But they were human, and that meant they deserved to know the truth. "Begin standard liberation protocol," Lisa ordered. "But remember, these people have never seen technology like ours. We need to be careful not to frighten them." The liberation of scattered human populations had become humanity's primary mission after the victory at Earth. General Marcus Stone led the military operations while teams of scientists and diplomats worked to awaken the genetic memories of humans who had been living as primitives for millennia. The process was not always easy. Some human populations had been so thoroughly conditioned by their alien overseers that they refused to believe the truth about their origins. Others had developed their own religions and cultures that made the reality of their past difficult to accept. But Lisa had seen the awakening process work dozens of times now. When humans learned about their true heritage, something fundamental changed in them. They stood straighter, their eyes became more focused, and most importantly, they began to remember skills and knowledge that had been buried in their genetic memory. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," the communications officer said. "It's coming from what appears to be the largest settlement." Lisa activated the main screen. A middle-aged human woman appeared, wearing simple robes, but carrying herself with an authority that suggested leadership. "Strangers from the sky," the woman said in a dialect that was clearly derived from ancient human languages. "I am Elder Mary Santos of the village of New Hope. Are you the ones the old stories spoke of? The sky riders who would return when the time of choosing came?" Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Even after millions of years, the humans on this world had maintained some memory of their origins. "Elder Santos, my name is Captain Lisa Bennett. We are humans, just like you. We come from a world called Earth, and we have important news about your people's history." Over the next several days, Lisa and her team worked to educate the planet's population about their true origins. They used the same gentle approach that had proven successful on other worlds, showing the people their genetic heritage, demonstrating the advanced technology that humans had once possessed, and most importantly, awakening the sleeping memories that every human carried in their DNA. Elder Mary Santos proved to be remarkably adaptable. Within hours of learning the truth, She was asking detailed questions about hyperspace travel and energy weapons. Her mind, freed from millions of years of imposed limitations, began absorbing information at an incredible rate. "My grandmother used to tell stories about the great ships that sailed between the stars," Mary said as she examined a piece of human technology. "We thought they were just fairy tales." "They were memories," Lisa explained. "Genetic memories passed down through generations." The Dominion's mind-wiping technology was powerful, but it couldn't completely erase everything that makes humans human. Meanwhile, in space above the planet, Admiral Jake Harrison coordinated the largest human fleet ever assembled. Ships from Earth worked alongside the ancient vessels that General Marcus Stone's people had brought out of stasis. But more importantly, they were joined by ships crewed by humans from dozens of liberated worlds. Each world added its own unique strengths to humanity's growing power. The humans from Kepler's garden proved to be exceptionally skilled at agriculture and biological sciences. Other worlds contributed expertise in engineering, medicine, and military tactics. It was as if humanity's ancestors had deliberately scattered different skills across the galaxy to ensure their species' survival. "Admiral, we're receiving priority. Transmissions from scout ships in 7 different systems," his communications officer reported. Jake activated the display showing the current status of liberation operations across the galaxy. Green markers indicated successfully liberated human worlds. Yellow markers showed worlds currently under liberation. Red markers indicated worlds where they had encountered Dominion resistance. "What's the status on the resistance operations?" Commander Ryan Murphy appeared on the screen from his position aboard a stealth ship. "Sir, we've confirmed that the Dominion is pulling back their forces from human worlds and consolidating them around their home systems. It looks like they're preparing for a major defensive action." "Numbers?" "Best estimate is 15,000 ships divided between 6 heavily fortified systems. They're also using human populations on those worlds as shields, making direct assault problematic." Jake studied the tactical display. The Dominion had made a critical error in their retreat. By pulling back to their home systems, they had abandoned hundreds of human worlds and allowed the liberation to proceed unopposed. But their defensive strategy was clever. They knew humans would hesitate to attack if innocent human lives were at risk. General Marcus Stone joined the conference from his flagship. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the Dominion's defensive positions. They're using the same strategies they developed during the original war millions of years ago. Is that good or bad for us?" "Good. We know how to counter every tactic they're using because we fought against them before. But there's something else. Dr. Pierce's analysis of captured Dominion technology has revealed something important." Amanda Pierce appeared on another screen, her face showing the excitement of a major discovery. "Jake, we found evidence that the Dominion has been conducting genetic experiments on human populations for millions of years. They've been using human DNA to enhance their own species." Jake felt his anger rising. "What kind of experiments?" "They've been trying to duplicate human traits like adaptability, creativity, and our refusal to surrender. Every major advancement in Dominion technology over the past million years has been based on stolen human genetic material." "Have they succeeded?" "Partially. They've managed to improve their intelligence and physical capabilities, but they've never been able to replicate the one thing that makes humans truly dangerous." "Which is?" Amanda smiled. "Our ability to work together when facing impossible odds. The Dominion species cooperate when it benefits them, but they don't trust each other. Humans, on the other hand, become stronger when we're united against a common enemy." As if to prove her point, Jake's display showed liberation fleets from dozens of different worlds converging on the Dominion's outer territories. Humans who had been separated for millions of years were working together as if they had never been apart. Captain Lisa Bennett's voice came through from Kepler's garden. "Admiral, Elder Santos has made a request. She wants to know if her people can join the liberation effort." Jake looked at the display showing the peaceful farming world. "Lisa, these people have been living as farmers for millions of years. They don't have any military experience." "Sir, with respect, you said the same thing about Earth 6 months ago. Elder Santos has been studying the tactical manuals we gave her. and she's identified weaknesses in the Dominion's defensive positions that our military analysts missed. General Stone nodded approvingly. Admiral, one of humanity's greatest strengths has always been our diversity. Every human world will contribute something unique to our final victory. Jake made his decision. Very well. All liberated worlds that wish to participate in military operations will be given the opportunity. But we do this right. No human goes into battle without proper training and equipment. Over the following weeks, the human fleet continued to grow. Engineers from industrial worlds built new ships using ancient human designs. Scientists from research worlds developed improved weapons and defensive systems. And soldiers from warrior worlds trained the new recruits in combat tactics that had been perfected over thousands of years of warfare. But perhaps most importantly, humans from primitive worlds like Kepler's Garden provided something that had been missing from the galaxy for millions of years: hope. These people had lived under Dominion oppression for so long that they had almost forgotten what freedom looked like. Now, seeing their oppressors in retreat, they fought with a determination that inspired everyone around them. As the human fleet prepared for the final assault on the Dominion's home systems, Jake reflected on how much had changed since Amanda Pierce had found that first crystal on Mars. Humanity had rediscovered not just their history, but their true nature. They were not conquerors seeking to dominate the galaxy. They were protectors, fighting to ensure that no species would ever again have to live under the kind of oppression the Dominion had imposed. And as Jake looked at the fleet of ships representing hundreds of human worlds, he knew that this time, humanity would not be caught off guard. The final battle took place in the Dominion's capital system, around a massive space station that had been built from the wreckage of humanity's original seat of power. Admiral Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the enemy fortifications that surrounded the station like a deadly maze. "Sensor report," he ordered. "Sir, we're detecting approximately 8,000 Dominion ships in defensive positions around the station. They've also got the station itself armed with weapons that appear to be modified versions of our own ancient defense systems." Jake nodded grimly. The Dominion had built their final stronghold using the ruins of humanity's greatest achievement. It was fitting in a way. This battle would determine whether humanity reclaimed its rightful place in the galaxy, or whether the Dominion's lies would continue for another million years. General Marcus Stone appeared on the communication screen from his position commanding the ancient human vessels. "Admiral, my scouts report that the Dominion is holding approximately 2 million human prisoners on the station. They're using them as human shields. Casualties if we assault directly? Unacceptable. The Dominion knows we won't sacrifice innocent humans to achieve victory." Jake studied the tactical display, feeling the weight of command. Around him, representatives from dozens of liberated human worlds waited for orders. These people trusted him to find a way to win without becoming the monsters the Dominion claimed humans had always been. Dr. Amanda Pierce had been working non-stop for weeks, analyzing every piece of data they had recovered about the ancient human empire. Now she approached Jake with something that might be their salvation. "Jake, I think I found something. The original human capital wasn't just a space station. It was a massive data storage and transmission facility. If we can access its core systems, we might be able to do something the Dominion never expected." "What kind of something?" "We can wake up every human in the galaxy simultaneously." The station's original purpose was to coordinate communications across the entire human empire. If we can reactivate those systems and broadcast the genetic activation codes, every human on every world will suddenly remember who they really are. Captain Lisa Bennett joined the conversation from her position commanding the Liberation Fleet. "Amanda, are you talking about the humans on Dominion worlds too? The ones they're using as slave labor?" "All of them. Every human in the galaxy would suddenly remember their true heritage. The Dominion would find themselves facing rebellions on every world they control." Jake saw the possibilities immediately. "How do we access the station without triggering a massacre of the human prisoners?" General Stone smiled. "Admiral, I spent 1,000 years learning how to fight the Dominion. They have one weakness that has never changed. They don't trust each other." Over the next several hours, Stone explained his plan. The Dominion alliance had always been fragile, held together only by their shared fear of humanity. If they could exploit the natural distrust between the different alien species, they might be able to turn the Dominion's own forces against each other. The operation began when Commander Ryan Murphy led a team of stealth ships deep into the enemy formation. Their mission was not to attack, but to plant evidence that would make each Dominion species believe the others were preparing to betray them. Murphy's team used advanced human technology to hack into Dominion communications networks and plant false messages. Soon the Saurian commanders believed the insectoid forces were planning to eliminate them after the battle. The insectoids became convinced that the crystal beings were negotiating a separate peace with humanity. Each species began to suspect the others of treachery. "It's working," Murphy reported. "We're detecting ships from different Dominion species beginning to target each other, instead of maintaining formation against us." While the enemy forces began turning on each other, Lisa Bennett led a small fleet of human ships in a desperate charge toward the station. Their mission was to get close enough for Amanda to access the ancient communication systems. The Dominion forces tried to respond, but their coordination was breaking down as suspicion spread through their ranks. Ships that should have been protecting the station were instead watching their supposed allies for signs of betrayal. Lisa's ship took heavy damage as it fought through the defensive lines, but her crew held together with typical human stubbornness. When plasma fire destroyed their main engines, they used emergency thrusters to continue forward. When their shields failed, they redirected power from life support to keep their weapons online. "Captain, we're not going to make it," her tactical officer reported as enemy fire concentrated on their ship. "Yes, we are," Lisa replied firmly. "Humans don't give up." At that moment, the ancient human battleship Eternal Vigilance appeared beside them, its massive hull absorbing the enemy fire meant for Lisa's ship. General Stone's voice came through the communication system. "Captain Bennett, my ship will cover your approach. Get Dr. Pierce to that station." The ancient battleship fought with a grace that spoke of millions of years of combat experience. Its weapon systems, designed by humanity's greatest military engineers, cut through Dominion defenses like they were made of paper. But more importantly, the sight of the legendary ship inspired human forces throughout the battle. Amanda Pierce worked frantically at her station as Lisa's damaged ship approached the station. The ancient communication systems were incredibly complex, but they had been designed by humans for humans to use. Slowly, she began to understand how they worked. "I'm getting access to the primary transmission array," she reported. "But Jake, the power requirements are enormous. Transmitting to every human world in the galaxy simultaneously will overload the system." Jake made the decision without hesitation. "Do it anyway. Even if we destroy the station, if we can wake up every human in the galaxy, the Dominion will never be able to control us again." Amanda activated the transmission sequence. Throughout the ancient station, systems that had been dormant for millions of years came online. Energy flowed through conduits that had been built when humanity ruled the stars. The transmission began as a whisper, but it grew stronger as more systems activated. The genetic activation codes embedded in a signal that only human minds could process spread outward from the station at the speed of light. On worlds throughout the galaxy, humans who had lived as slaves and primitives for millions of years suddenly remembered who they really were. Farmers became engineers, slaves became warriors. Children playing in dirt fields suddenly understood the principles of faster-than-light travel. The effect was immediate and devastating to Dominion control. On their homeworlds, the alien species found themselves facing rebellions by humans they had thought were safely suppressed. Human slaves seized control of factories, spaceships, and weapon facilities. Humans who had been used as manual labor suddenly demonstrated knowledge of advanced technology that their overseers didn't understand. High Commander Zethkri's image appeared on Jake's screen one final time. Behind the Saurian leader, Jake could see smoke and the flashing lights of emergency systems. The Dominion capital was falling apart as human prisoners took control of critical systems. "You have doomed the galaxy," Zethkri snarled. "Humanity will destroy everything, just as they did before." Jake looked at the alien commander with pity rather than anger. "No, Zethkri. Humanity will protect everything just as we did before. The difference is that this time we won't make the mistake of trusting species like yours. The transmission had used so much power that the ancient station began breaking apart, but its purpose was fulfilled. Every human in the galaxy now remembered their true heritage. The Dominion's greatest weapon, the ignorance of their victims, had been destroyed forever. As the battle ended and Dominion forces either surrendered or fled, Jake received reports from across the galaxy. Human populations were taking control of their worlds, not through violence but through the simple application of knowledge they had always possessed, but forgotten. Captain Lisa Bennett's ship limped back to the human fleet, her crew exhausted but victorious. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from Dominion commanders on over 300 worlds. It seems that without human slaves to maintain their infrastructure, their civilization is collapsing." General Marcus Stone's ancient battleship, scarred but intact, took position beside Jake's flagship. "Admiral, what are your orders regarding the Dominion species? They are effectively at our mercy now." Jake thought about the question carefully. Humanity had the power to destroy the Dominion completely, to give them the same treatment they had given humans millions of years ago. But that would make humans no better than their oppressors. "General, we offer them the same choice we offered everyone else. They can join the new galactic community as equals, or they can be confined to their home systems until they learn to coexist peacefully with other species." Dr. Amanda Pierce approached Jake's command station with a final report. "Jake, we've received responses from every human world in the galaxy. The final count is over 15 billion humans across 12,000 worlds. They all remember who they are now, and they're all asking the same question, which is, what happens next?"